Hello and welcome back to another high altitude investing live stream. Today is the 8th of May and I'm super excited to be doing a live stream with you guys today and talking a little bit about altcoin season and what I'm seeing in the charts, as well as Bitcoin of course as well. Because I'm bullish on Bitcoin, even though I do see a lot of bullishness in the altcoin markets coming. So let's go ahead and get this shared on my X account here. And we'll get started here. Cool. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Let's go ahead and get started here, and we'll just talk about the markets. So we'll pull up our Bitcoin chart first and foremost, as always. And we'll go to the daily candlesticks on Bitcoin, and we'll just get started here. So with Bitcoin, we did have a nice breakout all the way up towards 105,000 per coin, which was really nice. I mean, that's a pretty big bullish move. I guess 104,000, not quite 105,000. So we had a very nice bullish move here on Bitcoin. We did not see a correction here. We did not pull back down to major support. We just pushed right up through resistance. So this is a really good sign for the crypto markets as a whole, to see a huge breakout through resistance like this. Now, generally what happens in the markets, Bitcoin has a tendency to lead. And once everybody's excited about Bitcoin, then they start to put money into the altcoins. And that's kind of what we see happening here a little bit. We've started to see altcoins take off. If you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, for example, you'll see a pretty clear example of what I'm talking about. Bitcoin dominance started dropping. So once Bitcoin really started to take off and everybody is getting excited about Bitcoin, that really gave the green light go for the altcoin markets to take off and for us to see money coming into altcoins. Because basically the way people view altcoins, not everybody, but as a whole, most people view the altcoin market as more speculative and higher risk than Bitcoin. So once they see Bitcoin is clearly in an uptrend, then they start putting money into the altcoins because they know that the altcoins are probably going to take off, right? So they're like, oh, well, risk is lower. We're clearly in an uptrend. That probably means it's time to be putting money into altcoins. And we started to see this a little bit with Bitcoin dominance starting to drop here on the daily candlesticks. So what I think could happen here is more dropping of the Bitcoin dominance, where we start to see Bitcoin dominance kind of fall off a cliff here. It's at least possible for this to be the local top on Bitcoin dominance. We have been moving up inside of a rising wedge for quite some time now. We did just barely hit the resistance of this wedge and rejected off of it. So if it fails through this support level right here on Bitcoin dominance, this would be a huge green light go for the altcoin markets and really signal a very strong reversal for crypto. Welcome everybody. Good to see you guys tuning in, and especially the altcoin markets, right? Because Bitcoin kind of already started to see bullishness as we've broken up towards 104,000 per coin. So it's good to see Bitcoin back over 100K. And I really think we're going to see a lot more excitement coming in the crypto markets, not only for Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, historically, if you look at Bitcoin, every single previous cycle that we've ever had, Bitcoin dominance has a tendency to increase, and then as we get closer to the cycle hype going full force, once the hype inside of the cycle goes full force, then Bitcoin dominance does have a tendency to drop. So at some point, it's very likely that Bitcoin dominance does start to drop here and does start to fall off a cliff, just like it did over here in 2021. And that will really signal a very, very profitable move for the altcoin markets. So be watching for that. I do believe we are getting very close to that point for Bitcoin dominance to top out. Any day now, it could be like a week, it could be a month, but I personally believe, based on these charts, that we will see a pullback in Bitcoin dominance, and that will signal the beginning of alt season. Cool. So yeah, let's go ahead and stop looking at Bitcoin dominance and go back over to Bitcoin. And really, you guys, this is a continuation of our big picture uptrend. Here on the monthly candlesticks, you can see Bitcoin seeing a very, very strong monthly candlestick. So this is super, super good in the bigger time frame for Bitcoin to see a strong monthly candlestick like this. Basically, this means that Bitcoin is getting ready for more uptrend, more trending on the upside, right? More higher highs and higher lows to see a big, strong, bullish monthly candlestick like this. This shows us that Bitcoin is very likely getting ready to break up through our old all-time high of 109,000 per coin and continue higher here in the bigger picture. Now, with that being said, you guys, like I say, at some point, the altcoins are going to take over. It happens every cycle. There's a point in every cycle where even though Bitcoin is increasing significantly in value, the altcoin market does take over in terms of percentage gains. So there will be a point when that flip happens. Who knows exactly when? It could happen soon. It's very possible for it to happen soon. But Bitcoin is looking very strong. So the Bitcoin markets are going to keep going up even during that phase where altcoins really take off, right? So are you able to chart DigiByte? Yeah, we can do some DigiByte analysis today. So DigiByte is one of my personal favorites. I really like this coin a lot. Let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit more. I'll go with the 5-day. So one thing that we do see here with DigiByte is a bit of a triangle structure. So we have resistance forming right now, and we have support right here. So we do have a bit of a triangle kind of structure here for DigiByte. And what we want to see happen here is a breakout through the resistance of this triangle, where we really push up through the local resistance here at around a penny, right about a penny per DigiByte. If we get a clear break above this level for this coin, that's going to signal more upside in these smaller time frames. I know the 5-day for most people sounds like, oh man, Dallin is way zoomed out. You know, we're on the 5-day candlesticks right now. For most people, that's like really zoomed out. But the thing is most of the analysis that I'm doing for crypto is super zoomed out, like the 1 week, the 1 month, all those bigger time frames where you're able to see all of the historical data and see the bigger cycles. Those are the ones that make you the most money because the biggest swings happen in the biggest time frames, and it's also the easiest to predict. I'm not saying you can't trade smaller time frames successfully, but the bigger time frames are the most effective for doing analysis. So here on the 5-day, even though for most people that's super zoomed out, for me this is zoomed in. Like we're talking about what's happened over the past couple months, but this is zoomed in, right? This is the immediate, like what's going to happen over the next couple months. So that's something you want to be aware of when you're trading these markets, because if you are too focused on the smaller time frame and you don't have like a really, really solid trading plan for trading the smaller time frame, you're going to get chopped around like crazy. But in the bigger picture, you have clear uptrends, clear downtrends, clear Elliott waves, and all of that good stuff, right? So we do see DigiByte moving a little bit up off of these lows. Again, watch for a breakout up above 1 penny per DigiByte. If we get a clear breakout up above a penny, then I suspect we will see a lot more upside in the immediate future for this coin. I personally think it's going to happen soon. I've seen these bigger picture cycles before, especially like let's go to the 15-day candlesticks and look at the full cycle. I've seen this so many times with crypto. Huge ABC correction, massive devaluation, 97%, 95% drop. Everybody thinks it's dead, but then there's volume. And there's clearly institutions, and there's people buying it. And all of a sudden it breaks out and starts a bull market right where people least expect it. And in the case of DigiByte, I personally believe we will see a bull market for this coin. Jay, what's up, my friend Jay Kane? Good to see you. Bcashy, what's up, my friend? Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys are having a good week. Normally I don't live stream on a Thursday night, a Thursday evening, but especially during max traffic hours, everybody's probably driving right now. So I don't even think a lot of people will tune in. But most people will tune in afterwards, right? So it's all good. People will still get the content one way or another. All right, let's talk about some of the coins I want to talk about. XRP, we'll start with XRP. A lot of people don't realize, most people are so married to one coin and the fundamentals behind that coin that they're not able to look at other opportunities. And they're afraid of stuff. They have really, really strong personal opinions about the way crypto should be, about the way that the market should develop over time. And so a lot of people miss good opportunities because of their opinions. But for me, I'm a trader, I'm an investor. So honestly, I could care less about opinions and more about what the chart is going to do and how big the percentage gain is going to be, because that's the most important thing for me. So if you're able to kind of let go of your own opinions, like if you don't like a certain coin, let's say you're really into one coin and there's another coin that you really don't like, but the chart is clearly bullish, but you're just totally unwilling to invest in it because you don't like it because of your opinion about what the market should do and the way the market should be in the future, then you're really missing out on a lot of gains. So don't let your opinions get in the way of profit. If you're serious about making money in the crypto markets, don't care about opinion. Care about what the charts are going to do. Your main focus should be the truth, what's actually going to happen, and not what people's opinions of what is going to happen. That should be your main focus. And for me, I really believe XRP is going to do a big move this cycle. I know a lot of people hate this coin. Very, very hated by a lot of people. Some people love it, some people hate it. It really divides people, but the fact of the matter is, this coin is set up for really big things, and let's talk about why that is. Let's pull up the Bitstamp chart where we've got a little bit more data. So in the bigger picture, we accumulated on XRP for multiple years. You're talking about 7 years of accumulation. So here's 2017 over here. And we have 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. And we finally broke out again towards the end of 2024, right? In November of last year. So this is a huge accumulation for this coin. Multi-year, right? This thing has been moving sideways except for one little pump over here in 2021 for multiple years. So as it started its uptrend, this is a really good sign. We've already started a big uptrend in Bitcoin this cycle. Bitcoin is already worth over 100K per coin. And the fact that XRP is breaking out shows me, and it tells any other trader and investor that understands market leaders, that this coin is going to continue to increase in value throughout the bull market. This is not the end for XRP. So unless, like, for example, the entire crypto bull market just ended and we got hit by an asteroid or whatever, you know, like some crazy thing happens that that ends the bull market for everything. So long as this bull market continues, XRP is going to continue with it. It's already showing that it's a market leader. It's already done more of a move right here than Ethereum has. I mean, let's compare the two charts together. Let me make sure in terms of percentage gain that's accurate and I'm not just telling you guys things. I'm pretty sure that XRP has already done a bigger percentage gain than Ethereum has. So let's go from 8-day and we'll zoom in a little bit right here. So in terms of this cycle from the bottom to where we're at right now in the market. And by the way, what a strong recovery down here on Ethereum. You know, we had a nice move up off of those lows, so that's really good to see. So from the absolute bottom to where we're at right now, Ethereum is up 147%. From the absolute bottom on XRP to where we're at right now, XRP is up 727%. Now let's measure from the absolute low to the absolute top of the current move. So down here up to up here, Ethereum moved 356%. From down here to up here, XRP moved 1100%. So this clearly shows you that XRP is a very, very important asset in this cycle. It's already up 1100% from the peak low to the peak high. And from our peak low to our local high, where we're at currently in price, XRP is still up from Ethereum. So that's the definition of a market leader. You want to find those coins that are doing good percentage gains and put your money in the ones that are doing good percentage gains, because those are the ones that have the highest likelihood of continuing to perform throughout the cycle. So that's called a market leader. And XRP is one of those market leaders for this cycle. Bitcoin, of course, as well, being a market leader for this cycle. But the thing with Bitcoin is it's going to go really high, but altcoins always have a season every cycle. So in terms of percentage gain, going all in on Bitcoin, for example, with your whole portfolio is probably not going to be lucrative for you. You're probably going to wish you hadn't done that if you do that. AVAX, what is up, 3 Diglets? Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, I can do some AVAX analysis. Absolutely. Is AVAX cooked? I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a couple days. That's a good question. Let's check it out. No, honestly, AVAX is looking good. Looks just like from my last analysis. It looks really good still. So let's drop to the daily time frame here and take a little bit of a peek here. I mean, look at that. We've actually started to see a nice move up off these lows. We do have a left shoulder and a head and a right shoulder structure here. So this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern for AVAX. If we break above this resistance level at $23, you can measure from the bottom of the head. You just take this trend line tool, you measure from the bottom of the head and pull it up to the top of the head and place it at the point of breakout. And that gives you the minimum target for AVAX. This is called the neckline right here. So if we get above this neckline at $22.83 or about $23 per AVAX, if we break above that level, that really signals that we're going to go up towards $31 per AVAX. So that's in the immediate future here on the daily time frame for this coin. Now if we go out to the monthly candlesticks and we just zoom out a little bit here on the monthly and we go over to compare the cycle, let's go ahead and compare AVAX not to Ethereum, even though there is some similarities to Ethereum here back in 2018 during Ethereum's cycle over here. You can see the market cycle. There's a lot of similarities between these two cycles here. But an even better example, one of my favorite examples, is the NASDAQ composite, because this is what the internet bubble looked like. So if we pull up the 15-day candlesticks and take a look here, actually let's go a little bit higher to the 1 month time frame, for example. Will work better for this example. So the 1 month time frame, this is the internet bubble right here. So if you guys don't know, but most everybody knows, that in the late 90s, the internet was super exciting. A lot of people got really excited about the technology. The price of a lot of stocks associated with the internet went nuts, and a lot of people got really excited. A lot of people made a lot of money, but a lot of people lost a lot of money as well. So this is the internet bubble right here, right? And then there's, of course, because it was a bubble and because people were too excited about the technology, it crashed. The markets crashed significantly, and 2003 would have been the peak bottom of the internet bubble. Then we kind of bounced back up, and then we had another crash here in 2008. The housing market crash, right? The credit default swap housing market crash. And then the market recovered and actually went into a huge bull market. So a lot of people just talk about the fact that the internet bubble happened, but actually very few people talk about the fact that we recovered afterwards and went into a bull market, because a lot of people don't understand market cycles and they just focus on the doom and gloom aspect of it, and they don't focus on the fact that the people that bought in 2003 and in 2008 made a buttload of money when the markets pumped. Like, the markets went nuts. So they made a lot of profit very, very quickly, right? I mean, in terms of stocks, because stocks move very slow compared to crypto, right? But yeah, they made a lot of money very quickly. So AVAX over here is really the same setup as what happened after the internet bubble popped. So buying in 2008, buying the stock market in 2008 during the housing market crash, the credit default swap crash, is a lot like buying crypto, or at least in terms of AVAX where it's at in its cycle, a lot like buying AVAX right now. The only difference is this is called the tariff FUD. Everybody got scared because of tariffs. The world's going to end. Everybody's going to lose all their money, you guys. Why did we do these tariffs? You know, that's the kind of psychology that a lot of people had during this recent crash in crypto. But look what happened after 2008. the market went nuts. Full recovery, full-blown bull market for the NASDAQ after the crash happened. After we had a massive market crash and the bottom being in 2003 and in 2008, the local bottoms of that crash, we had a full-blown recovery where the price of the stock market went nuts. And a lot of people don't talk about that. But the crypto markets really had their own little internet bubble, if you want to call it the blockchain bubble, and it popped in 2021. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. But I think very few people, except for the smart investors, are talking about the fact that we're going to get a recovery. Obviously, really smart investors, people that have crypto channels, people that are into the world of crypto, they're all going to be talking about a big recovery because they've got their head on straight. They see crypto for what it is, which is something that has a lot of real-world use case and a lot of potential to become something kind of as important as the internet, right? So, yeah, I think AVAX is not cooked, and I think it will recover, and I think it will be a very profitable coin in this cycle. I do have some videos about AVAX, so go back and watch my videos if you want more, like maybe more of a breakdown than what I talked about in today's live stream. But I do see a lot more coming for this coin in the immediate future on the daily candlesticks and zoomed out here on the monthly. I mean, we have that same kind of double bottom structure that the NASDAQ made, and it's very possible this is the bottom. So pay attention for a reversal, especially a break above this resistance will really be green light go. But I think that's definitely going to happen with how much volume we have throughout this whole cycle. That's institutional accumulation. That's what that looks like, which is, again, the same thing that happened during the internet bubble. When the internet bubble crashed, is big institutions started accumulating during the drop. So they weren't buying, big institutions weren't really buying at the top of the internet bubble, but once the drop happened in 2008 and in 2003 at the peak bottoms, you can go look at the other internet bubble stocks, you can go look at all of the data, it's all there, and you can see billions of dollars of institutional accumulation. You can see the same thing with crypto right now, happening right now. So I'm ready to be a millionaire. Let's go. Yeah, Bob, I'm ready too, man. So in my early 20s, when I was like 21, I came very close to making $1 million by the time I was 21. I didn't quite make it, didn't quite hit the million point, but I was also pretty young and pretty excited to be rich when I was working like at a Marriott hotel before that. So, making $9.40 an hour or whatever. So yeah, this is going to be a fun cycle, and definitely a cycle where millionaires can be made. So it just kind of depends on whether you guys buy and hold and don't get caught up in all the FUD people that think the markets are going to go lower. Don't listen to those guys. Morning from Australia. Any chance to get a quick look at VNTR? Cheers, mate. Yeah, good morning, my friend. Thank you for tuning in from Australia. I actually have a lot of people that watch my channel from Australia, and it's kind of cool to see the good old Australians coming in for some analysis. I can't do an Australian accent. I won't even try. I'm too American for that. So, born and raised on a farm, you guys. So yeah, Venture Mind AI. You know, this is one in my Discord. A lot of people have been, or at least a couple people have been talking about in the VIP area in my Discord. This seems to be one that people are kind of excited about and looking at. And I believe this is the right chart. There isn't any volume. Let's see if we can get that volume if we go over to MEXC right here. There we go. So yeah, this is kind of a very typical double bottom kind of structure in the market. I'll show you an example. One of my favorite examples of a double bottom would be Bitcoin back in 2018 when Bitcoin bottomed out at around 3,000 per coin. Let's drop to the daily and we'll zoom in on that exact point. So here is Bitcoin in 2018, and it did a very, very, very perfect double bottom right here. So if you look right here, we have our left side of the double bottom, then we get our right side of the double bottom, and then that kind of makes a resistance point right here. And once you break above that resistance level, that confirms the double bottom pattern, and you can see the market moved a lot higher up off of those lows once it broke out through that resistance level. It went all the way up to like 14,000 per coin up here, almost 14K per coin, from being worth 3,000, about 3,000 per coin at the very bottom of that double bottom pattern. So keep this pattern kind of in your mind because it's a very common crypto pattern to see the double bottom. And by the way, if you guys aren't a member of the Discord, make sure you join, link in the description box below. Beware of scammers. Unfortunately, I have people that try to impersonate me. I'll never ask for money. I'll never message you in my Discord and ask for money or anything like that. So be aware of scammers impersonating me in here. Unfortunately, I've tried to do everything I possibly can to stop it, and all I really can do is have a warning message that pops up here in Discord every so often. So be aware of that. But join the free Discord if you're not. And in here, I have a free section called Knowledge and Links, and you can click on Top Trading Patterns, and I have a Google Drive with all of the top trading patterns, or at least a lot of them. I'm adding to this semi-frequently. Every time I think of a new one, I put one in here. And in here, you have a chart that shows the probability of different trading patterns. How high of a likelihood is it going to play out? You know, if you get a breakout of the pattern, is it going to play out 50% of the time, 70%, 60%? And the double bottom is number 2 in the highest probability patterns at a 79% success rate. So make sure you guys learn how to identify these double bottoms because they are very, very, very profitable for crypto. Now, if we pull up VentureMind AI over here, and now you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Over here on the left, we have VentureMind AI, and over here on the right, we have Bitcoin. So you can see the first kind of bottom here. So this is actually really good because you guys get to see what it looks like, not after the fact, but while a potential double bottom is forming, you guys get to see kind of what it looks like. Because it's one thing, hindsight, but it's another thing to see one as they're forming and learn how to identify that and apply that in your actual trading and not just hindsight, right? So this is really good. I'm glad you asked about this coin because I get to show you guys. And over here you have our left bottom right here. And we've started to kind of pull back a little bit here. And at any point, what can happen here is it can start to bottom out. And if it pushes up through resistance, right here, this is our resistance level. That's called the neckline. Just like how this was the neckline right here on Bitcoin. Once it broke above that neckline, you can see that the market went all the way up and started a nice bullish run. Now here with VentureMind AI, what you kind of want to watch for is a turnaround off of these lows. and a push up through that resistance level right here. And that will, excuse me, really confirm that we're going to see more upside in the near future for this coin. It'll be like a 79% chance that we do what Bitcoin did over here and start to take off and start to form higher highs and higher lows in the market. So I like this setup a lot. I've seen a lot of double bottoms just like this. We do have to break above the neckline before it confirms the pattern. So you want to watch for these patterns and pay attention to them and take note of them. But the pattern technically isn't confirmed until you break above the neckline right here, the resistance of the pattern. Just like right here on Bitcoin, that neckline right here, once we broke above that level, then it confirmed the pattern and we really went higher. So yeah, I like VentureMind AI. I like the setup a lot. I think we could see more upside up off of these lows, and we could see not more upside. We really haven't seen much upside at all, right? But I think we could start to see upside up off of these lows, and we could start to see a nice move here for VentureMind AI. Man, I wish I had more money. The 3K cycle. Shaking my head, Dallin told us. Yeah, back in the day, I don't know how long you guys have been watching my channel, but when Bitcoin was worth 3,000 per coin, I was making videos trying to keep people updated about what I thought the markets were going to do. And you know, I wish I would have had more money to put in at that point too, because I had made a whole bunch of money in 2017, and then the 2018 bear market was so absolutely just brutal, just totally wrecked my portfolio. So, you know, I wish I would have been able to buy more down there at 3K. But yeah, it did see a nice recovery, and I was doing my best to keep everybody updated during that period of time so you guys could be aware of the fact that I saw a big move coming in Bitcoin and a lot more upside coming in that market, and that's exactly what we saw. We saw Bitcoin go all the way up to 69,000. So I feel you on that one. 2018 was kind of a a big learning experience, right? Summer R, can you look at JASMY, please? Yeah, let's take a look at JASMY. 4Q tube, 4Q tube. I'm very scared. I have over 110,000 theta I've been holding since 2019. You know, I don't know why you'd be scared. I'd be excited, man. That's all I have to say about that. Let's see here. Altseason. Send them all. Yeah, I think Altseason is coming soon, Matt. It could have already started. You know, we'll look at the chart one more time, the Bitcoin dominance chart, after we take a look at JASMY. But it definitely could have already started. Altcoin season could have already started, so. Okay, JASMY. I haven't made a JASMY video in a while. Let me know if you guys want another JASMY video. Because this has been one that I kind of started talking about it around right here. We had a big pump in JASMY all the way up to 4 cents. This is one I've been kind of semi-making videos about for you guys. So let's go to the 5-day. So obviously it pulled back with the rest of the market. When we pulled back from December down, we had a correction here. So we did have a little bit of a pullback, but that's totally expected. I mean, we had a nice run up off those lows. You know, we were up like 1,900%. So anybody that bought the bottom made 19x. So of course people are going to take a little profit up here, lock in some of their gains, and of course we're going to have a bit of a pullback in the market. You know, if we drop down to the daily time frame, we are seeing some nice bullishness coming in with the rest of the markets here for JASMY. And we did get a breakout of descending resistance as well. So if you take a look here and you take a trend line and you just draw a trend line down, you can see this huge descending resistance line. And we broke bullish out of that line, which is a really, really common kind of thing to look for. So you definitely, it's actually really powerful to do this. You want to pay attention to these downward trending resistance lines, because once you break bullish out of those downward trending resistance lines, you do often get a very nice bullish move in the market, right? It has a tendency to see a lot of upside after a breakout of those downward trending lines. And most of the time, you know, this is also a falling wedge here. So most of the time it's kind of accompanied by another trading pattern. But the most important thing is that you broke bullish out of a downward trending resistance line. So I do like this coin a lot, by the way. This is a coin I do see a lot of upside for this cycle. We've already seen 1900% gains from the peak low to the top. So I think this is a market leader for this cycle, and we could see a lot more coming. If you want to break it down in terms of Elliott waves, it's actually pretty simple here. If we go to the 4-day and just zoom out just a little bit here, stretch our chart so we can see things nice and clearly, and take our Elliott wave tool and go from our bottom here and go wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. So there's 5 waves up right here. Then we have our ABC down, right? Wave A, wave B, and wave C. So that's a fully complete Elliott wave cycle. So this is a really good thing. That means we will be looking for our next Elliott wave structure, because of the way Elliott waves work. If you guys don't know about Elliott waves, just type in Elliott wave on Google, and you'll get a lot of examples, or you can read the Wikipedia page or buy a book about it, like Elliott wave Profitability is a really good book. It's called Elliott Wave Theory Profitability. And if you look right here, this is what Elliott waves look like. So let's pull this up. So they're fractal, so you'll have subwaves and then bigger picture Elliott waves. So if you count 5 waves up and an ABC correction down, it could be the subwave of a bigger Elliott wave set, right? So if you look right here, these could be subwaves for a bigger Elliott wave set, just like how we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to wave 1. Then ABC down for wave 2. You can see that here on the chart. Then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 3, ABC down for wave 4. You can see how there's subwaves. There's the Elliott waves inside of a bigger, larger degree Elliott wave set. So if you count 5 waves up and an ABC correction down, a lot of times that can be wave 1 and wave 2 inside of a larger degree Elliott wave set. So for example, this would be the top of wave 1 right here. And you'd go for like that. So you can see a little bit bigger, and then wave 2, right? Wave 1 and wave 2, and that could lead to a larger degree Elliott wave impulse. So wave 3, that would create a full recovery down here, and more upside up off of our lows down here for wave 3, right? And it's not going to go straight up. It's obviously, there's going to be corrections and everything along the way, but that's kind of the way the Elliott wave principle works. Greetings from Colombia. Mushrooms rules. Oh my goodness. Welcome, my friend. Thank you for tuning in from Colombia. So let's pull up, let's see, Dogecoin, I think, is a good example of one of these Elliott Wave patterns to kind of just to better understand what I'm talking about here with Elliott Waves and the way Elliott Waves work. So here on Dogecoin, if we go down to the 4-day candlesticks here, and one of the things that kind of cued me into this huge pump that came here on Doge, and one of the reasons I was bullish on Dogecoin down here is because of exactly what I'm about to show you here. So if we zoom out a little bit here and go like this, stretch the chart, you can see we have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, and an ABC correction back down to major support, right? So that's a full Elliott Wave impulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC. So I was looking at this and I said, hey, there's a complete Elliott Wave cycle. That means we're probably going to start a new cycle. We're probably going to see another bullish impulse wave, right? And that's exactly what we saw. We saw a huge pump up off of those lows that took us all the way up to 47 cents. So watching for these Elliott Wave cycles, even if you're just counting a subwave, it could be the smaller subwaves getting ready for a larger degree Elliott Wave 3 wave. So this is kind of how you apply Elliott Wave theory in the markets. Some people call it Elliott Wave theory, other people call it Elliott Wave principle. I'm pretty sure the Wikipedia page calls it Elliott Wave principle. Who cares, right? It's not the end of the world, whatever you call it. The fact of the matter is the market has bullish and bearish impulse waves. And you can map those impulsive behavior in the market because people are getting too excited and too fearful, so it creates these bullish and bearish impulse waves, and you can map that out and actually profit off of those moves. And in fact, Doge is a really good example of a perfect Elliott Wave cycle currently as well. So if we take our 2-day candlesticks, just drop a little bit again, look what just happened again on Doge. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. And every Elliott Wave cycle looks a little bit different, but they're all the same too. Like as you kind of get a feel for it, because that's really what it is, it's you get a feel for it over time, then you're able to identify these cycles more properly and more clearly. Because there are subtle differences, but they're all kind of the same. But just with practice, you learn how to kind of get a feel for these cycles, and you can see 5 waves up, A, B, and C. So it's no surprise that we're starting to see bullish movement in the markets up off of these lows because we just completed an ABC correction. So it's very probable for us to start wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5 as a result of that Elliott Wave structure in the market. So, cool. Toncoin. Yeah, let's pull up Toncoin. Uh-oh. I hope that's not the whole chart. Where's a place? Hopefully there's a place with a little bit more data than that, isn't there? Somewhere? There we go. Cool. So here's a perfect example of everything that we just learned. If we zoom in here on the 2-day candlesticks and you take a look at this pattern in the market, what do you see? Well, a lot of people that don't have their eye trained for Elliott waves are just going to see a lot of choppiness and a bit of an upward move and a bit of a pullback. Now, if you keep your trading strategy very simple and you buy dips on bigger time frames like 2-day, 3-day, 5-day, 1 week, then you'd see this dip and you'd probably be buying just because of how undervalued it is in the immediate, kind of smaller time frame here. Well, 2-day, I guess, is subjectively small. I talked about this at the start of the stream. A lot of people use like 4 hour, 1 hour. I don't really do that. I mainly use bigger time frames like 1 week, 5-day, 1 month. I look at the bigger picture because it gives you a lot more data and it's a lot easier to trade. So we have one wave right here, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. And an ABC correction down, A, B, and C. So that's a full Elliott wave cycle here for Toncoin. And we also see the kind of the early signs of a potential double bottom here. We have our left bottom here like this, and we're starting to potentially make our right bottom, the right side of it. So if we break above this resistance, that's really going to confirm that we double bottomed here for Toncoin, and we're going to see more upside up off of these lows. But the complete Elliott wave cycle would be the very first thing that I would personally be looking at here. This is a really, really good thing to see, and something that, it's a really good thing to see. A full Elliott wave cycle like this, it's really bullish to see that in the market, and one of my favorite things to see, and one of my favorite patterns for buying and preparing for profit. So I like this setup here with Toncoin as well. And by the way, this is an example of a full Elliott wave cycle playing out currently. But like if you go over to the Ethereum chart and we pull up Ethereum over here on Coinbase, and we go to maybe, let's say the 15-day candlesticks, and we go out like this. Here's an example of an older Elliott wave cycle on Ethereum. So you have, let's see here. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, and an ABC correction down. So this is happening over and over again in the markets. We're seeing the same kind of structure playing out over and over again. It's not something that just happens recently, but this is something that's proven to be true throughout the history of all of these markets over and over again. So it's powerful to understand the Elliott waves, you guys. I mean, look at this. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, ABC, right? See how that's happening over and over? Even currently right now with Ethereum, if we go like this, I'd probably go wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, and ABC. A, B, and C. So you can see that same pattern is appearing in the market over and over again. We're getting the same human emotion, the same cycles repeating in different ways. Obviously they look a little bit different every time. But the fact of the matter is we're getting Elliott waves in the market. So you can see how it would be very powerful to buy the bottom of wave C especially, or the bottom of wave 2, or the bottom of wave 4, and how profitable it is to identify those points in the market and actually purchase coins at the bottom of those levels. Wave C, wave 2, or wave 4 are all really good places to buy in the market. RNDT, please short brief. It looks like a steal for 2 cents. Yeah, let's do RNDT. So here is another Elliott Wave cycle. We don't have the full, we don't have the 5 waves up, but we clearly see an ABC correction. So this is another good thing for learning here, because a lot of times sometimes you won't get 5 waves up. It gets added to an exchange during a bear market or during a more corrective period in the market. And so you don't get that 5 waves up. You only get the correction because the coin got released or got added to exchanges during a bigger picture ABC correction in the whole crypto markets. So the only thing you see is the ABC down. You don't see the whole pump. So this is a very common thing that happens, and something you have to understand about these markets if you're going to use Elliott Wave principle as a way to identify entries and exits. You have to understand that the market isn't always going to just have the 5 waves up. Sometimes coins get added during bear markets. Sometimes coins, they can get added at different points in the cycle, and sometimes the only thing that you see is the ABC correction down. But that is what this is. This is an ABC correction. All the way down to 2 cents, like you said in the chat. And yeah, it does look like there's plenty of volume down here. So this could start to turn around. One of my favorite examples of exactly what I'm talking about here is actually the Coinbase stock. So if we pull up Coinbase Global on the NASDAQ and we look at the Coinbase stock, so I was bullish on Coinbase stock down here at the bottom of an ABC correction, even though it hadn't had 5 waves up. It got released in 2021, added to the NASDAQ. So it kind of basically became a tradable stock right at the beginning of a bear market. So there wasn't 5 waves up here with Coinbase stock. It just saw an ABC correction because everything started correcting in 2021 and 2022, right? So you can see that I had this ABC correction drawn even down here when Coinbase was, before we saw the whole pump right here, all the way up to $279. I was bullish on Coinbase stock down here because of this ABC correction. And you can actually, what's really cool with TradingView, I'm going to remove all these drawing tools and go with the 4-day. What's really cool with TradingView is you can actually take the replay button and you can put it like this, and it will take away all of the price action that happened after that point. And you can see what it looked like at the bottom of that ABC correction. Can you imagine how many people would see a chart like this and go, there's no way I'm going to buy that. It looks like it's falling off a cliff. That's going to be kind of a common response that a lot of people would have, right? If they see a chart like this on Coinbase. And that's probably a pretty common response for people over here with RNDT, right? Same kind of psychology that people are going to have. But look what happened to Coinbase. It saw a recovery up off of those lows because this was an ABC correction. And buying the bottom of an ABC correction is very profitable. So if you can identify the bottom of an ABC correction or somewhere close, you might draw wave C like right here, and then it goes a little bit lower. So you have to move it and adjust for the new market data. You're not always going to call the exact bottom of these ABC corrections. But if you're aware of them and you're paying attention to them, you can move your wave C a little bit lower, and at some point it's going to bottom out. This is why it's kind of powerful to know about it, because you're going to be able to get fairly close to the bottom, even if you're not exactly on the bottom. And if you're aware of it, you're certainly not going to panic sell if it goes for one more low. And then the market can turn around and you can make a lot of money. Just understanding this one thing about the markets, the ABC correction, right? And actually, again, if you press the replay button over here, so we can just, here we go, we can press replay with Coinbase, and you can see what happened here live in the market. You can see, oh, a lot of people kind of probably would have started panic selling again right there, but then it started to break out of an inverse head shoulders pattern. You can see a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder, and it broke bullish out of that, and then you can start to see it started trending up. Coinbase stock started making higher highs and higher lows up off of that bottom down there. So just understanding the way that human psychology works, and understanding when people are too excited or too fearful. If they're too fearful and you know how to identify an ABC correction, you can find that ABC correction right at one of those points where people are too fearful. And if they're too excited and you understand a bullish Elliott wave impulse, then a lot of times you can count 5 waves up at the top, right where people are too excited, and determine a local peak. So that's kind of the power of understanding Elliott wave principle, right? So yeah, I do think this coin RDNT could easily see a reversal here, and it does look really good down here at 2 cents. It reminds me a lot of Coinbase stock when I was bullish on it down here before it turned around. So is OMG still a coin? I actually don't know. I haven't done analysis. Actually, I think somebody had me do analysis on that not too long ago. It might have been in one of my other live streams. It's not really. I mean, it looks like mostly dead. I see one place right here for trading it, but I don't think this is OMG Network even the same thing as the original. Yeah, I guess it is the same thing. So there's not a lot of exchanges to trade it, unfortunately, which isn't generally a good sign. I'm not saying it's impossible for this thing to turn around. I don't know. It definitely could. There's pretty good volume here. You know, you can see all that volume down here. There is bullish histogram divergence. So I don't know. I'd have to look into that one a little bit more. I know it's kind of a big deal back in the day. A lot of people were really excited about OMG. So it could turn around. There is plenty of volume down here. Oh, looks like I have my my phone ring set to off silence. Oh, man. So, yeah. It looks kind of good, honestly. I like the volume. I like stuff that looks like this. I like stuff that people think could be dead, like people, like average people, not smart people, but like average investors look at the chart and they go, oh, look how hard that crashed. It's going to crash forever. And smart investors are like, oh, that looks actually kind of good, you know. And so, yeah, it could turn around. I don't know. It doesn't look bad down here. J. Kane, looking kind of dead. Yeah, it could be dead. Who knows? I would like to see it on more exchanges. It's not really, that's the thing. You want to see something traded. Like I mean, there's good volume on this specific exchange, right? There's pretty good trading volume here. On Skilling, it looks like. Skilling's, yeah, it looks like there's pretty good trading volume here. But you want to see something traded. That's why one of my favorite things to look at is 30-day volume, right? So if you go to monthly volume rankings and take a look here, and you take a look at the 30-day volume, what's doing good, what has high volume, because follow the money. That's so simple, but it's really one of the best, most profitable things that you can do is if you can find something that has high trading volume and it looks undervalued, like on the 5-day time frame or the 1-week time frame or any of those bigger time frames that a lot of people don't look at, it's probably a good entry. It's probably worth putting money into. Or if it has a really nice established uptrend like Bitcoin does, that's a good thing too. If you look at Bitcoin here on the monthly candlesticks, for example, and Bitstamp is terrible for doing volume analysis, so don't mind the low volume here. Really, the best place to do volume analysis for Bitcoin is Coinbase because it's the biggest exchange in the US. But yeah, you can see this huge, nice established uptrend here. That's a really good thing. This thing is in a monstrous uptrend. And if you go study other uptrends too, by the way, this is another thing that you want to do. Don't go into these markets blind. I mean, if you know somebody that's really smart and you trust them, that could be a good enough reason to put money into the markets, Or if you're just willing to lose whatever you're investing, well, you should always be willing to lose whatever you're investing, just psychologically, you don't want to trade money you can't afford to lose, and you should always be willing to lose money in the markets. Just understand that if you put money into something, you're on some degree you're speculating. Even if you're really confident in that speculation and there's a 95% chance you're going to be right, you're still speculating technically, But if you look over here, Apple computers, study these uptrends. The trend is your friend. A lot of people in crypto don't understand this because they haven't seen enough like real big uptrends. They've only seen like pumps and dumps in the market. But Bitcoin is really set up for kind of a monstrous uptrend here. I mean, it's a lot like early day Apple over here on the right and Bitcoin over here on the left, like very, very similar kind of attitude. And the uptrend can be bigger than you think it's going to be and go higher than you think it's going to go. In fact, every single crypto uptrend I've ever ridden, that I've ever been part of, went higher than most people thought it was going to. But then when everybody thought it was going to go way high, then it dropped. It finally saw a correction. But all of the uptrends I've been a part of went higher than what most people thought. In 2017, most people are trying to call a top around 3K. 5K, most people are trying to call a top. It went all the way to 20. And again, most people didn't think Bitcoin was going to recover in 2018 at 3K, but it went all the way to 69. So people are always, a lot of times people think something good is going to end. They think, oh, this is going to end, but a good solid uptrend blows people away and it'll go a lot higher than most people think it will, So total crypto market cap, for example, looking at the total crypto market cap, man, this is a monstrous uptrend. I mean, look at that. It's in a huge uptrend. And I like to use the Apple computers example here because it was a new developing technology, computing and the internet, and Apple computers became a household name, right? And I see parallels with crypto. Crypto is a new technology, and I personally believe it will be a household name. And you can see the big institutions have a very similar idea. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting billions of dollars into this market. They wouldn't be so invested into it. And they see, I believe, the big institutions see a lot of what happened they see parallels to what happened to the internet and with computing too. And that's why they're so excited about putting billions of dollars into a new industry. And you can even look right here. Here's Apple computers, and you can see billions of dollars being put in to Apple computers early on in the uptrend. Now, if you look at Apple computers volume, it's very low, right? We've been trending up for a long time, and volume in comparison to what it was early in its cycle is very low. I'm not saying this is the top. It could go higher still. But at some point, this is unsustainable. If you have increasing price and decreasing volume, that's unsustainable. If you look at the trading patterns here in my trading patterns Google Drive document that you can access in Discord, you can see here if the price is rising and the volume is going down, that shows a weak market. So at some point, Apple computers, this is unsustainable to see decreasing volume and increasing price. But you can see here early on in the uptrend, we had massively increasing volume and increasing price, which is a sign of strength. And that's what we see here with crypto today. We have increasing volume and increasing price. So I see a lot of parallels between early day computing companies and early day internet companies and early day crypto coins. There's a lot of parallels. So this kind of is the structure that a market makes before a huge increase in value, like a massive parabolic increase in value. So cool. Do you still think Litecoin will do well this cycle? Yep. Yeah, I do. Vello Labs, please, good sir. Okay, we'll do Vello. Vello. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Take a look at Vello. So this is kind of the same thing of what I was talking about with JASMY. Very similar kind of thing here with JASMY. Let's go to the 3-day candlesticks. And we'll go to, actually let's go a little bit higher here. 8-day candlesticks, that'll be good. And we're not going to compare it to JASMY, but we are going to compare it to early day Bitcoin. Early day is in 2015 Bitcoin. And the reason is because of the way that markets kind of bottom out. I want to show you guys an example of one of the ways that markets can kind of bottom out and the way they can look when they do that. So we have Bitcoin over here on the right, and we have Vello over here on the left. And you can see early day on Bitcoin back in 2015 and 2016, when it was establishing its uptrend before it went full force into the bull market in 2017, it really chopped around a lot. You can see we'd pump right here, then we'd pull back really hard. We'd pump and then we'd pull back really hard. We'd pump and we'd pull back really hard. It wasn't until 2017 that we really started kind of establishing an uptrend. And of course, there were still corrections along the way up, but we really went into a full-blown uptrend in 2017, right? And with Vello here, it's kind of the same thing, the same kind of attitude that the market has. We're early on in the uptrend. We have not fully established ourselves yet, but we see the early signs. We're kind of flirting with an uptrend. And we have corrections, pretty brutal corrections here, where people are, it's going all the way back down and people are getting scared and shaken out of the market, just like early day Bitcoin over here in 2016 and 2015, before we went full force into the bull market in 2017. So that's what I see here with Vello. Very similar kind of attitude to the market, very similar kind of structure. And I do believe we will see a nice recovery, just like what we saw here with Bitcoin, where Bitcoin recovered from $500 and broke out to a new local high. And I think we're going to see a similar thing here with Vello, where we break out to a new local high off of these lows and see more upside. And by the way, percentage gain from the bottom to the top, if we measure from the bottom up to the top, we have 4,400%. So this thing has been extremely profitable for anybody that's been accumulating down here, anybody that's been buying down at these levels. Even though we pulled back a little bit here, like I said, I think we're going to recover. So it should be pretty profitable for people that buy the dip down here as well. So yeah. When do you think Altseason will end? That's a harder question for me to answer. Usually Bitcoin tops out. Let me see if I get this right. So usually the way that it works, historically, altcoin season kind of signals that the market isn't going to go up forever. Like if we start to see altcoin season, the market can still go up for quite some time, but that's kind of the beginning of the end. So when altcoins start going crazy, super bullish, that's kind of the beginning of the end. That doesn't mean you want to sell. You want to hold through altcoin season because it's massive and extremely profitable, and you can make stupid amounts of money. So don't sell too early. But when people start going heavy into altcoins, that generally signals that at some point, once everything goes super nuts and super parabolic, you're going to top out. I don't know exactly how long altcoin season will last. I couldn't tell you. But I do think it will start soon. I do think it will start sooner rather than later. We've been uptrending here on the Bitcoin dominance for quite some time. And there's a lot of parallels between this move right here and the current move that we're seeing on Bitcoin dominance. So at some point, we should top out here with Bitcoin dominance. We might go a little higher here, but we should top out with Bitcoin dominance at some point and see a correction in the Bitcoin dominance. And what I'd be looking for altcoin season ending is the retest of major support. So we have a lot of support down here. You can see a lot of support down here on Bitcoin dominance. So I'd be watching for that support level. If we start to go down to those levels, like wherever Bitcoin dominance tops out, it's going to see a correction, right? And once we kind of get down to these lower support levels, then I'd be thinking about, okay, altcoin season could be over. Just like how in 2021, when we hit these lows right here, that really signaled the end of altcoin season because we hit a major support level on Bitcoin dominance. So Bitcoin dominance started increasing from that point, right? So hopefully that's helpful for you, my friend. Thank you, good sir. Yeah, thank you. Glad you enjoyed the live stream and had a chance to tune in. And thank you guys, everybody who tuned in to today's live stream. Normally, I decided to bring my guitar today, so I'm going to play one of my favorite songs on the guitar for you guys. And we'll call it a day. There you go, you guys. That's called Malaguena on the guitar. That's one of my favorite songs to play for people because it's fast and exciting and cool. So, all right, cool. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for the donation, you guys. I appreciate. Forgot who donated, but somebody donated to my 3 Diglets. Thank you for the donation, and I look forward to seeing you guys in future live streams. As always, stay profitable out there.